Also, I'm very spiritual. Sometimes before meeting, especially, I think there was one time I was working, I had to go to Malta, and the government was waiting for me to make a presentation, a human rights related presentation. I was met by the Minister of Justice, and I walk in, and there was like, this is the UN expert coming. And I freaked out, like in the taxi while I was there. I was like, oh my God, I'm in this strange country, and everyone is waiting to see what I have to do. What if my presentation has a typo? I started going through these things. What if I forget? But you know what? I just take this quiet moment by myself before I stepped into the room, and I said, Lord, guide me. Lord, give me the wisdom. Lord, let my knowledge stick. Lord, use me as an instrument to support these people.
Born and raised in the motherland, chasing a better life. Story of an immigrant.
Concrete pastures.
Concrete pastures.
Hello, family. Welcome back to Concrete Pastures. I am Nancy Mlemwasisi. I am so excited. Our guest today is a phenomenal woman. I can't wait for you guys to get to know her. And I'm so grateful to my girl Chulu for this introduction. Oh my God. But thank you so much for tuning in. And to all of our new listeners, welcome to the family. This is the space that allows myself and others to share our stories as we deconstruct the world's view of immigrant status. We unlock the joys, the laughs, the bravery that being a dreamer brings. As we continue to grow our community, our ask to you is to support us by subscribing to this channel. This way we can get bigger and have more people coming on this platform to inspire us. Like I said, again, today on our podcast, we have a phenomenal woman. She's a huge supporter of women's empowerment, feminist, co-founder of Phenomenal Women Global. She is even more than that. Her name is Liza Sekaggya, and she is a highly motivated and accomplished international lawyer with long-standing experience, specializing in all areas of public and private international law, international criminal law, human rights, and humanitarian law. Welcome, Liza, fresh off our Zambian soil.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be on this program. Thank you for the invite. It's exciting.
Oh my God, I am so excited. The first time I heard your episode on Africana Woman with my girl Chulu, I was so moved. There was so much packed in that episode. And for anybody, I would encourage for you guys to hear the full story of Lisa's episode. It's called Life as an African Refugee and Immigrant. That's episode 16. I heard your story last year. Actually, no. Yeah, last year. But you guys, I think, filmed it 2021. It was so moving. And I didn't even know, just having not heard that episode, I would not know that you've lived in Zambia. I would just assume right away. But I want to start from where you are. You are in Swaziland, Geneva. And how was it getting integrated in Geneva when you first came to Geneva?
Well, it was exciting. For me, first of all, it was exciting because I never really expected to work here. I came on a short contract, expecting to stay for 3 months and leave, come back to Uganda. So, I mean, I've lived in Europe before. I studied in the UK at university level. So I wasn't really expecting so much difference. But of course, the language, with my basic French coming to work with an international organization, the UN, 80% of the people you're surrounded by, like the community, speaks French and the rest English, I mean, at work. But so there were those language barriers, but I learned French. I went for classes, and now I'm really fully fluent. So firstly, yeah, there was that language barrier. And then of course you're living in a space where you are a minority. So they're less, there's some African people, yes, there are many, but in your workspace, sometimes you can be the only person of color in like in a meeting. So there are those challenges that you deal with navigating those spaces where sometimes you get imposter syndrome. Am I meant to be here? Or other times people try to suss you out and maybe sometimes try to undermine you.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes some time. You prove yourself. Once you know your stuff, you prove yourself, and when they see that you're smart and you know your stuff, then they're more accepting of you. So there are all those layers that you have to deal with, and then of course the social side. I had a son, and just sort of sort of, letting my son settle in a new environment coming from Uganda. Um, Also, him in that school space, being a minority, and how to deal with issues where, the color of your skin really stands out. And sometimes
Mm-hmm.
children are like, why, is your skin so dark? So, just navigating the racial aspects and the social aspects of that.
Yeah.
But however, Switzerland is a beautiful place. It's organized, it's clean, and it's safe. It's the only country in the world where I feel safe to walk out at 3 in the morning without worrying about my security. So that was like a huge plus. Security is so important, and I know that a lot of times back home in Africa, you can't even, walk by yourself late in the
No.
night down on the street. Yeah. So for me, that was like paradise. Yeah.
Wow. No, that's amazing. And talking about imposter syndrome, how were you able to, overcome that? Because a lot of us experience it. I've been in a lot of rooms where I'm the only Black person, and you feel it, whether you like it or not. It's just like, oh my God. And I've definitely felt the same feeling of, do I really belong here? And it's a fight.
Yeah, and it's two ways. It's as a woman, because sometimes I would be amongst the only women in a room. And then, of course, being a Black woman, that's double.
Yeah.
So what I would do is I would make sure if it's a meeting that I'm part of and I have to make a presentation, I would really study my stuff. I would become the expert, and I would read even past what had come to do, so that I give statistics, I give scenarios. And so knowledge, just having the right knowledge and enough knowledge, mastering your subject matter wherever you are, it gives you that security. But
Mm.
then I'm very spiritual. Sometimes before meeting, especially, I think there was one time I was working, I had to go to Malta, and the government was waiting for me to make a presentation, a human rights related presentation. I was met by the Minister of Justice, and I walk in, and there was like, this is the UN expert coming. And I freaked out, like in the taxi while I was there. I was like, oh my God, I'm in this strange country, and everyone is waiting to see what I have to do. What if my presentation has a typo? I started going through these things. What if I forget? But you know what? I just take this quiet moment by myself before I stepped into the room, and I said, Lord, guide me. Lord, give me the wisdom. Lord, let my knowledge stick. Lord, use me as an instrument to support these people. So there's that prayer thing that I do for a minute, and I just pause, and then I affirm myself and I say, you are enough. You are just as good as everyone in that room. You went to good universities, good schools, you have a good family. And I always remind myself that I'm representing many people. So it's not just me, I'm representing my mom, I'm representing my grandmother. And this saying, I think I heard Oprah or Maya Angelou say, when you're in that space, just say, come, mom. You just say it to yourself, come, grandma. All the people who support you, you kind of call on them in your spirit, and you get into that room knowing, yes, they're away in Africa or wherever, but in spirit, they're actually with me. And those practices have actually strengthened me and helped me quite a bit.
That's so beautiful. I pray a lot, and in a lot of rooms that I get in, I definitely try to pray, even before a podcast, a recording. I do.
Oh, wow,
Because
amazing.
no, you never know what comes out of you. And sometimes we do talk, and I want the goal is not even what I want. It's the goal is to be able to impact others, because this platform is really for everyone. So that's amazing, actually, having that in you, having faith in something, believing in something bigger than yourself to give you that strength
Yes.
and courage. Really, really beautiful. Um, I also want to touch on your son, because this is something that goes on here in America. I live in New York, and we have a lot of racism. How have you been able? Because I know you are very vocal about it, and I saw an article on New Vision that you had talking about racism. How have you been able to, let's say, educate, I guess, your children on how to navigate racism in school, because that's something that a lot of us immigrants experience, and we brush it under the rug. And because it's not even on purpose, it's just we don't know how to go about it the right way, on how to advise our children to go it the right way.
I think by encouraging them, first of all, to speak up. I have two sons, one who's 23 and one who's 8. So with the 8-year-old one, I haven't yet embarked on it really, but I buy books, and I think most of the books are from the US actually, but they're sold in stores here. I buy books that that have Black culture,
Mm,
talk about our hair, talk about different things, and talk about differences. So my 8-year-old now has a book that is, has diverse characters in, so that
mm,
he can know and appreciate also that Black people have achieved great things. Some of these books are about people who've achieved, who are scientists, who are architects, who are warriors, and so I start first of all by affirming that, because I think in the beginning, at one point, he said to me, all his friends are white, why can't he be white? And I said to him, no, because we're from Africa and our skin is dark and our skin is beautiful, and we also, we come from this heritage. So I started to affirm him, and by the end of the year he was like, um, I actually, I don't know if you've seen this experiment that they did in the US, where they asked Black children about dolls. There was a white doll and a black doll, and they asked
yep.
which one is more beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked my son, I tried to do it on him just to see, after all this work I had done, what kind of, who was the better doll. And he pointed at the black doll. And then I said, why? And then he said to me, I like her hair. So he didn't even talk about the skin. He said, I like her hair. It's like mummy's. And so I was very happy that he said that, because, when you look at videos in the past, and how children were indoctrinated or raised that white skin was better or lightness was better and black was bad. But when
Yep.
he said that, I was like, okay, I think I'm making a little bitty difference from the beginning of the year. And
Yeah.
then secondly, I speak to the teachers. So with the older child, I think we had an incident. We had an incident where one of the kids said they didn't want to play with him because he was Black. So my older son, who's 23, they didn't want to share a game. He was passing his new game around, and he didn't want to share it with him. So he came back from school really sad. And I approached the teacher and I said, this happened to my son. Can you do something about it? And she said she attempted to talk to the parents, but then I said, why don't we do something more proactive? And then she was like, okay, let's choose Africa as our country of focus, and let each kid pick a country, study it, and present something.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think what was going on is some kids would say things like, oh, you're from Africa, it's very poor. There was that kind of rapport going on. And so when the kids were doing all this research, and this is a very good teacher that, she decided to focus on this just to help with an issue. And she was American, and this is in the international school here. That was quite good for him, because all the kids were researching and finding there's diamonds, there's this. So it was educational, and he had a sense of pride. So I did work with the teacher on that, and then she was like, and an African mom is coming to talk to us. and so I
Wow.
went to school, though I didn't really put on my Wakanda hat because I had my suit on from work, but at least I kind of spoke about it. So kind of speaking out, uh, being sensitive to what they're going through, and
Yeah.
trying to get the administration to support. We're not as advanced as the US in dealing with such things here, because Swiss people usually tend to ignore or think that people are oversensitive. But when the George Floyd incident happened in the US,
Yeah.
they became proactive, and the government intentionally also, especially Geneva, created a budget for Black Lives Matter and for organizations dealing with racism. And so my organization, Phenomenal Women Global, was a beneficiary of this. So we also did, for example, a documentary on racism, and looking at children's views of racism. But we also had webinars, we've had sessions with
Yeah.
the members of parliament in Geneva, and other activists, just to talk about it, to talk about the legislation, to talk about how they're tackling
Mhm.
racism, because studies here show most of the racism is in employment and in housing, so when people are looking for houses. So at least the authorities are cognizant of that and trying to work towards it. But just creating that platform where you can speak, I think, is one of the most powerful things. And for me, it's deep, because I know my children are growing up here, and anything little I can do to improve the situation, to me, is huge for them. And yeah,
No,
so that's
that's
kind of my.
really that's beautiful, because it's a struggle for all of us parents. I know here in the US, it's a bit better when it comes to certain laws, but still we're having challenges. That's why I wanted to find out, like, how it is in Geneva, and how you've been able to deal with it. And so far, I think you guys are doing good in that direction.
Okay.
So I want to go into what you do. You are an international human rights lawyer working as a human rights officer with the United Nations at the headquarters in Geneva. What's your day like?
As at the United Nations,
Yes, what's your day like? Because
my
what are
day
you
is.
doing? Because some people might
Oh, okay.
hear your position
Well,
as like,
I
what
can't
is it
really
like?
say that much, but I will say, in general, my role is to um, support member states of the United Nations promote and protect human rights. So that can range from advising legislatively on human rights in various countries. I'm a desk officer for South Africa and Malawi, or that can also involve providing trainings. It can involve supporting them to report to the United Nations, giving them all the procedural and substantive support, and just providing technical support. So every day I'm either in a meeting, a webinar, or looking at some letters or laws that have come in, and supporting technically the specific countries that I cover, and also the colleagues who are working in the field.
The reason why I wanted to get back to what you did share with Chulu. Um, Again, for anybody listening, watching, the episode is episode 16, Life as an African Refugee and Immigrant. It's a whole picture of who Liza is, and it gives so much details. You did share about a child soldier initiative that you started. Is this why you got into this
Yes.
work? Being an immigrant can be hard. Having been away from my home country for over 20 years has allowed me to experience these hardships firsthand. Throughout my journey, I've had a lot of challenges that were hard to bear. Juggling adjustment to a new country, obtaining my immigration papers, getting married, having children, establishing my career, and finding time for myself. Even though I've always had faith, I also relied on therapy, which gave me the tools to cope with the issues life brought me. My fellow dreamers, let's remove the stigma around therapy and normalize seeking help with today's sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp offers licensed therapists who are trained to listen and help you. Go to betterhelp.com/concrete pastures for 10% off your first month of therapy with BetterHelp and get matched with a therapist who will listen and help in as little as 48 hours.
So my history of working in human rights is quite diverse, because as a as a kid, I told you our parents were exiled. We lived in Zambia because of the political situation at the time in Uganda. So I grew up in Zambia, and much as we did flee and could be categorized as refugees, my parents never actually applied for refugee status
Yeah,
because they were professionals and they were so confident that they would get a job. So we were immigrants, let's just say, and they both got great jobs. My dad was working in Zambia National Commercial Bank. He's a banker, and my mom was working in the court as a magistrate in Lusaka.
nice.
But however, we would go back when they changed presidents. We went back once, and the current president at the time was using child soldiers, and I was like 10 when we had gone for our first visit after leaving when I was like 2 or something like that. And I remember these children manning the roadblocks and as soldiers. And at the same time, they were children because they saw my brother's ball and they asked, can we play with it? Yet, they're also supposed to be holding arms and they probably come from war.
Yeah,
So that image stuck in my head because as a kid, you don't understand it. And of course, I asked my parents, but they were so busy trying to ensure that we're safe. But years later, I got a job with, when I was doing my master's, I decided to do my thesis on child soldiers. And so as I did this thesis, I thought about that child and maybe he's now grown up like me and what is he doing? But there were many of such people, but they were being slowly demobilized and integrated in society. So when I did that um, um, thesis, I applied for a job with Save the Children, and I really emphasized that I had worked in this, with child soldiers because they had a program on child soldiers, and so I did get the job, and
wow.
I I was in charge of violence and abuse, and also supporting the programs with other colleagues, ensuring these soldiers are reintegrated, receive counseling, and just monitoring the programs that other civil society actors were doing. So for me, it was kind of like a full circle moment, like from seeing this when you're a child, doing a thesis, and now you're working on it. So I felt, I could see why it was happening. What was the strategy of political leaders using children, knowing that children are vulnerable, can easily be
Honorable. Yeah,
indoctrinated. They're indoctrinated, and they can easily hide. They can make bombs. They can do lots of things in their small bodies.
yeah.
So yeah, it was a full circle moment. It was a great experience working with those children and just being part of history. The many people who are supporting to reintegrate children and to ban the use of child soldiers. And I think now, of course, there's an international prohibition. There are treaties that prevent states from using children in armed conflict.
That's amazing. And the thing is, just listening to that episode, when I was listening to it, I thought my first thought was, how do you remove yourself? Because if you're working with a child soldier, they probably, their mentality is not like the same as the same child with the same age.
Mm.
And how do you disconnect even when you go home from those moments that you're interacting with those children? How were you able to disconnect?
I think just with humor and just with I think at the time also it was not so advanced to have like a psychologist or a formal process like people do now. So we would do maybe at work we would do like feedback sessions just of your day there.
Okay.
But at home, I I would try and do other things or to joke about it. I know it sounds insensitive, but I remember there
Yeah.
was a time I was in the room with the children who had just been demobilized, and they would have toys, they would have art, and so they would usually paint guns and bombs. Like when we'd ask them, it was a form of therapy, but
Yeah.
in the center they would do stuff like that. And one time, one of them was playing with bricks, and I was like, "Oh, okay, what are you making?" And he says, "I'm making a gun." And he's 6 years old, and he was like, and he was so serious. So I was like, so
Wow.
when I go home, I would be like with my kids, "I'm making a gun," like, and then
Yeah.
laugh. But it
Yeah.
was also just a way of, like de-stressing from this, but knowing obviously that it does affect you and it does, sometimes you are angry, but at
Hmm.
least they're going through rehab and it takes a while, but it's for a good cause.
Wow. There's a lot of people that are doing some of your work, and that's the reason why I'm asking because people from Sudan right now, what's happening in Sudan, Ukraine, a lot of different countries, just to name a few. And it's just maybe someone we could help someone while they're listening to this. Because not therapy is
Mm,
not everywhere in these type of
yeah.
moments, and yeah, it can be really challenging because some people are not able to remove themselves from a lot of situations, especially those that involve children. Um, but thank you for
And
sharing.
I agree. I agree. I think also another thing is to make sure you take breaks. A lot of
Okay.
people get burnout doing human rights and humanitarian work, but you have to be very intentional. And that's why even I was in Zambia for that writers retreat, because I also realized that the work we do can be quite demanding, and
Hmm.
you do have to switch off and just be with family, be zen and
Yes.
silence, and just enjoy nature, and then come back to the rat race.
Talking about Zambia, how was Zambia before I jump onto a different topic?
Zambia was nice. I mean, it's the place of my childhood. I still have a couple of friends that I'm in touch with. And
Nice.
for me, Zambians are among the most friendly people, the most carefree. Um, they're not complicated people,
Oh, nice. Thank you. Thank
Yeah. So I was happy to be there, especially to go to the Zambezi Basin region. I know that they're trying to do a bit of mining there, and there's some environmental cases.
Yes.
But for me, it was just took me back to my childhood when my parents would, during holidays, drive us to the national parks, and it was just like going back on memory lane. Yes.
Oh, wow. No, I'm glad you had a good time with my girl Chulu. And I've seen a lot on Instagram. Guys, visit Africana Woman. It's there. And the whole trip, she has lots of pictures, and you guys are all
Yes.
sharing. Are you going to Morocco also?
No, unfortunately, I can't because we do have our Phenomenal Women Global Conference 23rd September. But I would have if, and hopefully next time we can coordinate our calendars so that we can participate in each other's events because
Yeah.
Chulu also wanted to come for the conference.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. Talking about Phenomenal Women Global. Hey, you are the founder of the organization, and
Yeah.
what got you to do to actually get this organization started?
I was actually at the UN. I was actually uh, put in a leadership course for UN United Women in the United Nations. It was called Emerge. So it was sort of like for middle level staff members. And I had never really done a fully fledged leadership course like this, which was brilliantly arranged, where we would have different top leaders of the United Nations speak to us. And we had different sessions on networking, communication, innovation. And this program was really an eye opener for me. And even though in this program we were only like 2 women from the continent, from the motherland,
Yeah.
and I felt, diversity in many organizations is hard to achieve. And I felt in this space, if I'm to grow and yet there's only one person who looks like me in such a course, it's really, it puts us at a disadvantage. So in that thinking space of the leadership course, I also was assigned a mentor and a coach. And one of the first things the coach asked me is, what is your bigger vision in life? No one had ever asked me that. I was there saying, I need to get a promotion. I need to learn all these skills. And she was like, a promotion to do what? And I said, to be a leader, to be a manager. And she was like, okay, but what is your bigger, what has the universe, as they put it, but for me it was God, put you in this world to be. And for me it was a turning point, because I was like, it made me think. And my passion was really like to support people, especially women of color, navigate those spaces, be able to grow and get promoted and do great things, deal with issues like imposter syndrome. And because this course really helped me, as I did it, I did get my promotion in the process, because I learned all these tools of how to navigate those spaces. And I said, this information in this course can really help other women, especially women of color. And so I decided to found the organization and do a conference where we would get people on board to share their stories, women in the highest level of their field. So we do invite very, CEOs, UN experts, judges, bankers, whatever it is. It's interdisciplinary, it's intergenerational. So all generations share their stories, but at the same time we also do workshops to deal, on different issues: leadership, entrepreneurship, communication, and anything that can support you in your career journey, in your leadership journey, in your business journey. And so that's how we started in 2018 with one. Ended up doing one in Geneva, one in the US, one in Zimbabwe, one in South Africa, one in Italy. So we've just gone global. We have focal points. We have a movement going on of women, all women, but within that conference setting, we do discuss issues that are very specific to women of color, the race card, the race issues, the discrimination issues, the double whammy, all that, work-life balance, marriage, divorce. We do have sessions where we go into closed session and say, how do we support each other? How do we have that sisterhood where we are building and not bringing each other down, but we're even able to be there for each other?
Beautiful, beautiful. You guys are having an event, as you mentioned, a month from now, actually, before a month to date, so September 23rd. So for someone, let's say they want to sign up, what does that look like if they come to the event?
Well, we have a conference dedicated page. So if you go to phenomenalwomenglobal.com, all the information is there. We just closed for speakers. We had sent a call out for speakers. It closed 31st. I think it closed 31st of July. But we're still taking side events, because we want to have a few events to the lead up of the conference. So we've got a couple of them. But if you sign up, the theme is Her Voice. So this is a very broad theme, but a lot of things have happened with and to women this year in the political space. There are a lot of women leaders, presidents, parliamentarians, politicians, a lot of women rising up globally around the world, mayors and that sort of thing. So we're looking at women in politics, women in literature, women affected by humanitarian situations like climate change, wars, and those are kind of some of the key panels. But we do have within that same setting in the afternoon, we have workshops where we will actually learn more like about communication, effective communication, because we do need that as a leaders. And if we are to be more vocal and use our voice, we have to learn how to communicate in difficult situations, communicate with diplomacy when we need stuff, communicate with our colleagues, with our spouses, with our children, communicate in a non-violent way as well. So that's one of the workshops. And then another workshop is on work-life balance. I think this is a key area where mothers, we're CEOs of our homes.
Yes,
We are
need it.
CEOs of the home. You're managing the budget, the children, the transport, the clothing, right? And then you
Yep.
go to work, you're managing people, projects. And then, then you go to your country, you're managing your parents, they're old, you want to support them.
Yep.
So we're CEOs everywhere. So how do we balance that, and still have our voice? So, and then we have, what's the other workshop on? Gender-based violence. Of course, this is something that really limits the woman's voice. I've worked in this area previously in a job, and violence against women is common. Even here in Switzerland, it went up during the pandemic. There were many cases. I think in many countries it went up. And once you go through that, your voice can be shut down for a while. So how do you come out of that? How do you bring back your confidence and etc.? So we will have a session on that. And yeah, so there's quite a lot of things on the plate. And because it's her voice, we will also have a musician and a poet in between, so that we're not so bogged down with this knowledge, but we relax and hear a woman's beautiful voice. And I think lastly, I mean, there is a market space as well. We always promote women in the conferences, women's businesses, especially women of color, minorities. We encourage them to buy a table, talk about their business in the breaks, and so that people can support them.
So for someone, let's say they cannot make it, is there any virtual way they can join?
Yeah, we're trying to see how we can do that for some of the sessions, but not all.
Yes, I
And
can
definitely
imagine.
for the side events leading up to the conference, we will have them both virtual because there'll be smaller groups, of course.
Okay. So what does
Yeah.
that look like if you guys decide to do virtual? How much is the fee so others can start preparing? Do you guys have a link?
Yes. So we are selling tickets, first of all, for the grand conference through our website that will direct you to Eventbrite for those who want to pay through the Eventbrite PayPal thing.
Gotcha.
For those resident in Switzerland, they also have an option of paying through Twint, which is like our mobile money here thing.
Got it.
And then for the side, so if you have a ticket for the main conference, you can attend all the side events for free. But if you just decide to attend the side event, there will be a fee for those who are resident here and want to physically go. But we're still debating the online version, whether to charge or not. But we most likely will not charge for our subscribers and for our members and just charge for other people. So there will be like a way for people to sign in and yeah, go into the rooms.
Oh, nice. Is Phenomenal Women Global only in Geneva?
No, we have our headquarters in Geneva, yes, but we do have an office in Uganda. We have a focal point for Southern Africa, who is based in Zimbabwe and South Africa. She was also part of the Zambia event. We have a focal point in Italy. We have a focal point in the US. We have a focal point in Canada, in Ghana, and where have I left out anything? I think those are the countries, yeah, the main country, and France. France.
So how do people join? Let's say that do you just subscribe, or how do people get to join?
There is a fee on the website phenomenalwomenglobal.com. You go to the membership site.
Mm-hmm.
It's 100 Swiss francs or $100 a year for those living outside of Africa.
Okay.
And for those in Africa, it's $30 a year. And when you subscribe, yes, you receive information and you get discounts for most of the events. And we also prioritize members as speakers, coaches, because we have your information in our database. So if we need a trainer for something, we usually first look at our members list and contact them, and then, then send a call out.
Definitely an amazing organization. And when I was actually, the first time I listened to your episode with Chulu, I did look into their website and how you guys, the amazing things that you guys are doing. And it's beyond, it's exceptional work that you guys have been putting out there, helping women. Um, Anything else you want to share on Phenomenal Women Global?
Only that, yeah, we're fundraising. Would love to partner with different organizations who are interested in supporting women. We do have coaching and mentorship services. So another way is also companies or organizations can approach us and we can organize a mentorship program for them.
Yes.
But we would like to partner, we would encourage people to donate and support us so we can reach out to more women. Yeah.
Fabulous. No, amazing. Um, you are a phenomenal woman, and thank
Thank
you for this organization that you've opened up to all of us. And you've done so much. You continue to do so much for all of us. Do you feel you found your concrete pastures?
I think I'm still a work in progress. I have, but of course, with everything, finances are issues that you can only do with what you have. And obviously, I would like to do much more, finances willing. And of course, I'm the kind of person who wouldn't mind retiring a bit earlier than the retirement age so I can work on my passions, so that I can do that when I'm still looking young and good.
Yeah.
But also, I'm a writer I haven't yet published, but I'm about to. And I feel that once my two books come out, I'm hopefully by next year, one of them will be out first and see how that goes. I feel like I would be sort of on the road to leaving a legacy in a book, because all my experience will be encapsulated in this book that can live on.
Oh,
Even
nice.
if even when I pass on, people can say, this is, these are some of the things that are important and useful for women and men. And for me, then I would feel like, okay, I'm on the road to something. Of course, there are many things that, other things that I want to do, like personally, to grow myself, but this is just one of them. And of course, my children being successful and safe and happy and contributing to this world that makes it easier for them to navigate those spaces. For me, that's very important. And of course, I don't want to be a grandmother yet in my 40s, so I know that that is coming. But I would love to, of course, I would love my older son to meet someone nice and, to be able to settle and for me to be a grandmother maybe in my 50s
Okay.
or 60s.
And you still be looking just like this. Okay.
Yeah.
You will. Definitely. I mean, Louisa, there's so much, even if you once you release your book, I don't know what the title is, you are definitely an extension of, you know, so much that you've done, and there's going to be so much that people are going to take off from what you have done already. Phenomenal Women does so much. I can't even stress this enough. And then the work that you've done, you cannot underestimate that. Once the book comes out, that will be definitely an extension of what you leave as your legacy to for years to come, for other people to reference to, and you have your own extensions through that. So I can't wait for the book to come out. Do you have a title yet?
No, but it focuses a lot on leadership and experiences that I'm co-writing with a very close friend of mine who
Right.
has had a similar background, like career background as me. So we sort of, it's a book. We can't say much until it's
Yeah.
published, but it's kind of, illuminates our experiences, and it will help many people in different spheres, professionally and personally.
This has been an amazing conversation. I am so honored to have had a conversation with you here. Thank you for making time for us and for inspiring us. Um, Thank you for all you're doing for all of us.
But thank you so much. I mean, I'm so proud of everything that you've managed to achieve. And any woman, uplifting other Black women on such platforms deserves such honor and such grace. So, stay blessed, continue what you're doing.
Thank you.
And I'm sure you've touched so many people's lives through these stories. It's very important for these stories to come out, for people to be heard. So yeah, keep doing what you're doing. I hope you can come for one of our meetings, conferences. And I just wanted to add one thing, that Phenomenal Women Global was nominated by Swiss Diversity Leaders. It's an organization that deals with diversity in Switzerland. We're nominated on the gender part of it.
Nice.
So on the 6th September, we shall be in Bern, which is the capital of Switzerland, at a dinner as one of the nominees for this award, alongside two others. So wish us luck if we get it. And even if we don't,
It's a big
we
honor.
were just happy to be nominated in that gender category, and knowing that the Swiss population and community have managed to see us, what we're doing, that we're visible and we're making a difference in this country with 9 million people. So I'm really happy to share that on this, and I will maybe let you know what happened on
Yes,
the 6th of September.
do share, and we'll definitely share it on Concrete Pastures platforms for sure.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And thank you for inviting me.
No, thank you so much for making time for us. Thank you.